Well, it's been a whirlwind week in London as we've been waiting years to find out what will happen to Julian Assange. Will he be sent to the United States? We hope that's not the case. Will he be able to delay this extradition to go through with the appeal process? Well, we just, of course, on Tuesday got word from the UK judge that they will be able to move forward with some version of an appeal. It's quite a messy situation, of course, trying to unpack everything that's been happening over the past 24 hours. Stella Assange, Julian Assange's wife, has just been in the middle of a whirlwind dealing with all of this, and she's been kind enough to join us here on Redacted with an update. So, Stella, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So you received this over 60-page document from the court. What was your initial immediate response? Did you feel like that this was a major victory, a small victory, a step back? Where was your head as soon as you got your hands and your team got your hands on this document?
Well, it certainly wasn't anything we could have anticipated. We were expecting either a denial of appeal or allowing Julian to have his arguments heard. And instead, we have this kind of midway situation where the US government is given yet another opportunity to shift, to adjust its arguments before Julian can have an appeal on these 3 points. It's strange. It's weird. The UK courts, the US government has had 2 days to be able to give its arguments, and the judges made specific questions on these points during that hearing. And the lawyers for the US were not able to satisfy the judges, and so the judges have instead now given the US government given an opportunity for a political fix, basically, in relation to these 3 points. So the next step is that the US government has until the 16th of April to submit so-called diplomatic assurances, which are problematic, of course, because assurances are not enforceable. They are a submission between the US executive and the UK executive, sort of built on trust. And of course, in this case, we know the US government is not trustworthy. It is the government that, in fact, plotted, or it is the US that plotted to assassinate Julian during the Trump administration. And Julian would never be safe to be in the United States. So the whole case is moot, given where it's come from.
There were a couple of key moments, though, in this document, or key points in this document, that I thought they basically threw out this CIA argument, did they not? So the Mike Pompeo piece of this, the CIA targeting Julian Assange, it seems that the court is now saying that's not relevant in this particular document, in this particular case for the appeal. Also, the fact that he was being targeted as politically, that this was politically motivated, is also removed from this. Is that, I mean, did those two things strike you as odd? And how do you get these assurances then from the United States if you remove this key piece of evidence here, which is the targeting of Julian by the CIA for assassination?
Well, look, this paragraph, specifically 210 in the judgment, is absolutely mind-blowing. What the court is saying is, yes, the United States, the evidence that Julian is presenting may prove that the United States plotted to kidnap and assassinate Julian, but given that the United States is now seeking to extradite him, i.e., given that the U.S. is now seeking legal means to get its hands on him, then the assassination plot and the kidnap plot is no longer relevant because they'll get him legally. This is, of course, completely absurd, and any logical person would look at this and say, well, if they've been engaging in illegal acts, assassination plots, kidnap plots against Julian in the past, then surely they're not trustworthy um, in an extradition context either. And who's to say that the purpose of an extradition is not to assassinate him? Um, you know, this is
Right.
there's so many leaps of logic here, but the reality is that the British courts, if they do accept that if they do accept the evidence that there has been an assassination plot against him, i.e., to say that it is relevant, then they can't extradite him. If they do accept that this case is politically motivated, then they can't extradite him. So they've really been tying themselves in knots in order to find um, a way to pass the buck to the United States, to allow them to make a political intervention, to make it easier, more passable, more palatable to extradite him. So I don't feel reassured at all, because what we know is that the British courts have accepted so-called assurances in the past in relation, even in relation to Julian, which are anything but assurances, conditional assurances, very carefully worded assurances that actually don't assure anything, don't make Julian safer or protect his rights in any way. What it is political cover for the British courts to be able to proceed. And I think this is the real reading anyone should have when they see a invitation to issue assurances. It sends alarm bells ringing, frankly.
The three grounds that they give Julian to move towards appeal, what were those three grounds, and are you confident you'll be able to prove that to the court?
Well, one was in relation to the death penalty. So this was specifically that the British Home Secretary had not asked, and the US government had not issued any assurance that the death penalty would not be applied. So there is the possibility that once he's on US soil, on the same um, facts alleged in the indictment, the U.S. could then seek to charge him under a different part of the Espionage Act, which carries the death penalty. And there's nothing to stop them from doing that. So that was an acknowledgement by the courts that this is a real possibility and a very disturbing prospect. So the courts have asked the U.S. to issue an assurance in relation to that. The second one concerned the First Amendment. It's connected to the third, really, but the Espionage Act, of course, doesn't allow a public interest defense, and it's never really been tested in relation to a publisher. This case is unprecedented in respect of because it has been applied to a publisher for the very first time in history. Previously, the Espionage Act has been applied to whistleblowers, to sources, to the source of the information, but not the one who publishes that information. So just to remind everyone, Julian published information that Chelsea Manning sent to him. So he was doing the job of a journalist. And the U.S. has argued under oath in its submissions to the extradition case here in the U.K. that because Julian is an Australian citizen and because he was not on U.S. soil, that he does not enjoy constitutional protections. He is not entitled to the First Amendment. This is something that Pompeo also said on numerous occasions in his speeches. So the UK courts have said that the US must assure the courts that Julian is entitled to the First Amendment. So basically acknowledging that he is a journalist and that he is able to invoke those protections in case of trial, and that he won't be discriminated against on the basis of his nationality. This is a direct contradiction what the British courts are asking the US to do is to contradict their own prosecutors' submissions to the courts. So it's a very strange position for the US government to be in right now.
And the U.S. government never lies, so sure they won't have a problem with that. Getting these assurances will be 100% accurate and truthful, and they can stand by those statements. What did Julian think of this? What did Julian think of this document today? This order from the court. When in your discussions with him today, what did he find it favorable, positive? What was his overall mood?
Look, I've barely been able to speak to Julian about the decision. Our conversations are limited to 10 minutes at a time. He learned of the decision at the same time as the rest of us. He was only able to read the decision this evening because his lawyer, Jennifer Robinson, happened to have a visit booked in this afternoon and was able to bring the decision to him. So I haven't actually been able to discuss it with Julian. But, this is the little conversation I was able to have with him was, this was a completely bizarre turn of events, and one that you come to expect this kind of strange behavior by the courts when you're dealing with a political case like this one obviously is.
Yeah. Well, please give our love, our audience here, the millions of folks that watch our show, please give our love and prayers to Julian, and we are 100% behind you in this fight. And if there's anything that our audience could ever do, please let us know. But Stella, we appreciate you taking a few moments out of your day, an absolutely whirlwind past 24 hours, I'm sure, for you. So thank you so much. Give our love to Julian, and we'll keep fighting. Thanks, Stella.
Thanks, Clayton.
I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. YouTube thinks that you'll actually like this next video right here. It's personalized based on your own viewing habits. So if you watch the video, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think about it, and we will see you next time, everyone.